Moon Platoon, we have a special interview today with Dr. Christopher Britt, a man who has filed suit against Citadel and has seen immediate repercussions right away. At the end of this video, you guys are going to find out exactly what, in simple terms, he filed suit against Citadel for. On the side of the apes, let's find out what this legal battle is about in the simplest terms. All we ask is that you make sure that the like has already been thoroughly demolished, that more apes can see this message. Dr. Christopher Britt, how are you doing?
I'm well, sir, and Chris or Christopher is just fine, my friend. People are the only way to follow me now is on my personal account on Twitter because I had to dox myself. So Chris is fine by all means.
Heck yeah. I'm going to show you a picture of you in this doc. It's a 64-page doc about the contents of what we're going to cover on this video. Chris has also been a long-time supporter of this channel. How long have you had the meatball coin next to your name?
I want to say back when you were in the sub 10,000.
Wow.
So way back, man. Yeah, for sure.
The first of 90%.
Like, it feels like years, but it's only been months, I think, right? Or not months, but you know what I mean? It feels a lot longer than it really has.
He smashed that join button next to the subscribe button a long time ago, and I'm really happy to have him on the show talking about his DD. When did you start writing research? Was it during the this meme stock fiasco, the rise of it, or have you been writing it for a long time?
Writing or writing? I'm sorry.
Writing.
A little here and there. Like I've been doing self-directed investing for myself and for manage some family money. But for I don't know 7-ish years, and then I may or may not have gone to undergrad with a certain individual. Referred said he's not a cat, so he was a year. He was a year behind me. So I mean, I've always had an interest in the market. Some days are better than others, but in terms of like, I'm not really great at technical analysis, but in terms of doing overall research, that's into companies and diving in, that's what I enjoy.
That is exactly what we wanted with this individual investor revolution. I want to talk about exactly what is the 1-2 sentence summary of what the fight against Ken Griffin is. Would you mind giving it to us?
Sure. In short, it actually started pretty much as soon as I launched Citadel Air. It started. My account was suspended twice, but I had structured the entity in such a way that I owned the name. It's incorporated so that if I watched other parody accounts fall, so I kind of insulated myself. So they tried twice and failed. Then their lawyers got creative, and like they sent an investigative team. It appears down to the Caymans to go find out where I was, and they filed a UDRP complaint, which is basically they said that I'm using CitadelAir.com in bad faith. And they managed to convince a panel of 3 lawyers, randomly chosen, kind of like a jury, that that I'm not covered under parody of fair use, which is protected speech, because I'm monetizing it, like I'm making money off Citadel Air, and I'm actually running a legitimate airline. That was their basis for granting Citadel and finding in their favor. So when that happened, they filed against me in October. The decision was, came back record fast. So if there is no appeal process within that world, it's just whatever the panelists say goes. So I would have to hand over my domain name, and I knew that was the only thing that was keeping my Twitter parody account from being, demolished. And so lo and behold, the only way to fight it after kind of 3 days of thinking it over and speaking to the missus was to move with a formal lawsuit. So I think it was December 8th, my attorneys and I filed a federal lawsuit against Citadel in the U.S. District Court of Arizona, which is federal court, which basically stops this process. Otherwise, within 10 days, everything I had done would have been turned over to Kenny.
I'm reading your personal note to Ken Griffin. You are asked why you are choosing to fight back and is menacing global cartel of a company, Citadel LLC. Answer is simple: to fight back against the corrupt nature of people who believe that they are above the law and can bully others into submission when they do not abide by their rules. This is big, my man. How long have you been fighting a good fight? Have you always been rebellious in nature, or is this a revolution you're worth fighting for?
I've learned to pick and choose my battles very, very. I was always, if you ask my parents, I was a rebellious child. I didn't always follow the rules. It's not like I was anti-authority, but if I saw something as, a double standard or hypocritic in nature, I would rebel against it. And in the initial filing, one of the reasons they say that I'm using that name in bad faith was because that I use a privacy or a proxy service on my domain, which is pretty standard industry practice, so that you don't have to put your home address and name and email and get tons of spam. Well, we kicked it right back and said, well, they accused me of nefarious things. So we said, well, Kenny uses got an FAA exemption for privacy on his private registration, and his phone's not tracked unless you have a unique skill set. So what nefarious deeds is he trying to hide, and what is he up to? Yes, I do have a bit of rebellious nature when I feel that there's a double standard. Absolutely. But I just didn't feel like I should be forced or compelled to hand over, it was an arbitrary and capricious decision to begin with from the panel, but my lawyers were legitimately shocked. They win 9 out of 10 of these cases. They were shocked. So much so that they were ready to go to federal court and be like, let's rock, and not like, it's expensive, but they worked with me to make it feasible. But I just didn't feel right about having the 45th wealthiest person in America. I'm a nobody. 45th wealthiest person in America wants to silence me. Why?
At the end of the day, it seems like money cannot buy thicker skin. So at the end of that, what would you say? I know you have a whole document, which I will make sure, with your permission, that people can access. What would you want to say to Ken Griffin right now? Now that the conclusion by these 3 lawyers, right, has brought down, like you said, a really wealthy individual upon you, and a conclusion by people who might not share all the facts. What facts can you tell him right now?
It's stated in our argument, that it's parody fair use. Fundamentally, it's protected satire. There was no slander, and there was nothing libel. I abided by every terms and conditions set forth by Twitter. I was very careful, so it's not targeted harassment or hate speech or any of those things. If you can't take a joke, then I don't know how he became how successful as he is. It's very surreal, because there are others who have done far greater things. Cat strikers flying banners around Chicago, New York City, and she gets the cease and desist letter. I don't even get a letter or an email. And honestly, if they had told me that they had a problem with their primary concern was the Citadel logo was on I was using their logo on my jet, which is true, which is still permissible under parody satire fair use. If they had asked, I would have gladly taken it off, and we wouldn't be here today. I think that he, and I would ask him why, but why he's bringing this what I'm foreseeing as a Barbra Streisand effect down upon himself and Citadel, because I won't be trampled on. I've seen it happen to so many others who haven't been able to fight back. And yes, I only represent myself in my case, but I'm also doing it in spirit or in kind for the others that were not able to stand up. We're not able to, to say no. And quite frankly, I'm all of us are tired of to a certain extent, mainstream media and hedge funds and market makers and so on and so forth control the narrative, right? So if there's a lawsuit out there, big or small, it's still in the media, that puts a wrench in controlling the narrative. And I'm very keen to see how they defend themselves, because the optics, if I was on the I was Ken Griffin and I received this, maybe I didn't know my legal department was going to do it, but the optics aren't good. Like it's bad PR for again, I always like to go back to this 45th wealthiest person in America to make $65 million a day, and I'm a nobody out of Austin, and he's coming after me. When a simple letter, email, phone call would have sufficed, and I would have obliged to remove that logo, but instead he decided to kick a hornet's nest, because I don't think he was anticipating someone to fight back. And it's clear if you look in the initial domain dispute, they had to actually pivot and do a complete 180 in their defense, because they just sent some boilerplate response thinking I would default or not answer, or that I could afford counsel. So it caught them off guard for sure.
He will not back down. Fighting for the apes right now. The freedom of speech is number one for a reason. Dr. Christopher Brett, I'm going to include your information as well as this document, with your permission, down below. Make sure you guys have already slapped it. And if you want to follow him, I'll also include some information down there as well. Any last words for the Moon Platoon?
Keep on keeping on. And I know a lot of people are asking and sending encouraging things through the website, citadelair.com, which is great. I appreciate it. But I've also been said many times, I appreciate the gesture, but I'm not soliciting or accepting any donation. It's my fight. I got to fund it. And I don't want to be seen as the next Chad. So I appreciate those that do keep reaching out and offering. Genuinely appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you guys once again, and we'll see you, all of you, in the money. Peace.